check it and sit down before we start it. Call to order the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners on Monday, May 11th, 2020 at 6 o'clock. As always, we'll start off with invocation. If you would, please stand and join me. Most gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, just thank you for the many blessings you've given us. And Lord, we just ask you to be with each and every one of us as we go into this budget session. Lord, just ask you to be with those who's going through all kinds of sickness right now. We just ask for your healing protection on them, Lord. Lord, right now, just continue to guide and lead us through all this, and ask for forgiveness for our sins. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Please continue standing for our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioners, before I do the approval of the agenda, I'd ask for us to put the budget amendment number 106 on there as well. It's the budget amendment appropriates funds for the HVAC unit for Life Bright in the amount of $16,130.
I'll make a motion, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. We'll now move on to our comments from our commissioners and our manager, starting with Commissioner Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight. I didn't write any diatribe tonight on the reopening process that I think has been completely mishandled by our governor. I think our next pandemic is probably going to be how many dead businesses we have, based on the way especially the way the blue state governors have handled things. And as I've mentioned in previous comments, I think we've kind of all been hoodooed on this thing a little bit, but hopefully we'll learn something from it. Other than that, welcome everybody. It's good to be back in the chambers and good to see everybody out tonight. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, sir. Well, I'm a little disappointed, Commissioner Morris. Usually you have some good things to say, and you've done a lot of research about certain aspects of the situation we're dealing with, and I just say, usually I agree with Commissioner Morris. You've done quite a bit of analysis, I believe, and have found out some things that really are interesting. But anyway, we're going to make it through this. I have no doubt. Good Lord is still in control. Always will be. And our nation has faced much worse pandemics than this. If you go back and study some history, you'll see early 1900s, for example, Spanish flu. In our times, we've had swine flu, bird flu, SARS, MERS. Pretty good assortment of pandemics prior to this one, but this one, I'm wondering, like Commissioner Morris, I will agree with him on one thing. I'm wondering if in some instances the precautions will be worse than the virus itself. The effect of the virus versus the effect of the very strict precautions. The one thing I've determined is there's a division on this. Some people feel very strongly that we can't do enough. Others feel like way too much as far as precautions, restrictions, executive orders from the governor, etc. is way too much. And I don't think either side is going to be changing its mind too quickly. So in some ways, this situation that we're dealing with is dividing people. They're having to take one position or the other. But I look at it this way. Time will tell. Time is a great validator. And as time passes and we look back on this, we'll know more about what we've actually been dealing with. And I think hopefully we can learn from it. And if a situation like this ever occurs again, which it might, then I hope we've learned some things from this that'll help us deal with any situation, any similar situation we have in the future. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I'll just say thankful for all our blessings. You did a good application, and I'll let it go at that.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mendenhall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to say welcome to all of you that have come out tonight. It's always an honor and privilege to be sitting before you. One thing that I feel like has been on my heart is you see on TV everything that they've been saying, and then they have been thanking the first responders and everyone on television. And we've got an EMS, an emergency proclamation on our action agenda tonight. But sometimes when the proclamation agendas are read or the resolutions, you lose sight of who all you're thanking or who all you're speaking about. So I just want to do a shout out to several groups, and I'll end it with the most important group. But to our first responders, our emergency medical technicians, our paramedics, our emergency medical dispatchers, our firefighters, our law enforcement, our educators, our administrators, our pre-hospital nurses, our emergency nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, doctors, and I want to end it by not only thanking all of those people for all they've done through this time, because as you know, we've only had 11 cases in Stokes County. To me, that's miraculous. I know we're a rural county, but to keep it down to 11 to me shows that all the people in Stokes County took it serious. And I just want to thank all of our people that has been on the front line. And I want to thank all the citizens of Stokes County, because it takes everybody working together. Personally, I'm sort of like Commissioner Walker and Commissioner Morris. I feel like it's been extended a little bit too long personally. But I think North Carolina will bounce back. I think it's the president is doing everything he can to turn this economy and get it reopened. And I certainly think if they will work together, we'll get everything back on the right track. But I just wanted to say a shout out to all of those groups and all of the people in Stokes County for the great job y'all done. And the county commissioners, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Well, it's good to see a little bit of a crowd back in the room. The last couple of months felt kind of empty. But I know myself, and I know Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Walker, Commissioner Mendenhall, we've always seen a lot of phone calls, emails about us getting this county back open. By all means, if we had the authority, you'd already see this county back open, going wide open. I just want everybody to know there's some that's thinking we're just kind of sitting back on this. We're not. We sent letters to the governor. I myself made several calls to our House Rep, Kyle Hall, and our Senator Phil Berger, and talked to them many times on what we can do. Now, unfortunately, we're kind of stuck at the governor's feet right now. So just a little bit of, the way I see it, live your life, be cautious about it, and just know that God's in control. And that's the main thing that we do need to know. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it on to our county manager, Mr. Oakley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. It's good to see you again. And as you see, I've passed out a form here, each one of you and folks here in the audience, concerning our monument have out here in front that memorializes our United States Constitution, and also those that gave their life for us to have the right to live here in this country. This will be something that will be finished soon, and in this flyers that I put out is a area that we're going to sit inside it. 2 areas that we'll have pavers, full of pavers, and as people buy them, they'll replace them, put the who they memorializing, honoring, or whatever names that they have on it. But anyway, like for myself, I plan on buying one in honor of my parents on it, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that has great individuals that have served this nation, this state, and this county in a manner that they would love to memorialize their loved ones also. But anyway, just keep that in mind. There will be a dedication on June the 1st, Wednesday, June the 1st. I know you got an email on that, so be here for that. There'll be a lot of other dignitaries that will show up also from the state and in the grand opening. And just remember that this helps them recoup some of their money back in building this memorial here that we'll have, and I think it'll be something great here. It's going to be beautiful. We'll have 3 flag poles out there, one's United States, and one for the state, one for the Stokes County. And I hope to see a lot of our young people come and visit and read and look on what this country was founded on. So with that, I hope everybody's doing well. It's good to see you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. We'll now move on to our presentation of the fiscal year 2020-21 recommended budget.
Okay, it's that time again that we started all over a new budget. With that, honorable board members, Mr. Chairman, it is my privilege to present to you the recommended budget for 2021 fiscal year. In accordance with the general statute of North Carolina, the budget is balanced and prepared under the guidelines of the North Carolina Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. A copy of this budget has been filed with the clerk to the board and will be posted on the county's website where it is available for the public for inspection. My 2021 recommended budget, with a tax rate of 31 cents per $100 valuation for general county, 31 cents for school current expense fund, 4 cents for the dedicated education fund, and 8 cents for all fire districts, will mark the 10th consecutive year with no property tax increase. The purpose of the county's annual budget process is to develop a fiscally responsible plan that enables the organization to accomplish the priorities of established by the Board of County Commissioners. The priorities in this budget are based on the guidelines received through a budget goal work session held during the month of March. After reviewing the county's revenue source and the initial budget request received from our county departments, we arrived at a general fund budget deficit of $4,145,583, or the equivalence of 10.34 cent property tax increase over last year's current budget, or the current budget we had, or under. Balancing a budget requires a thorough analysis of the county's revenue stream combined with the attempting to meet the requests from each of the county departments. This budget cycle brought with it an unusual set of circumstances, creating extra challenges in establishing a budget due to COVID-19. These challenges include closure of many local businesses, which led to the League of Municipalities recommending a reduction in sales tax estimation for 2020, which creates an impossible scenario for a budget standpoint. We were forced to make tough decisions, ending in a 3.52% cut from the 2019-20 budget. Each department's budget requests were evaluated, and the cuts made were based on the department's ability to handle a decrease and still provide the necessary service the county needs. That being said, some departments were cut more than others based on the need and services provided. Some were approved, some reduced, and some eliminated, but all of these requests were not taken lightly. I have thought critically about each of the requests, and my conclusions were based on the overall well-being of the citizens of Stokes County. I would like to thank each of the county employees for their tireless effort and the continuous service that they provide to the citizens of Stokes County. And I would also like to thank the Board of Commissioners for providing valuable direction and development of this recommended budget. I'm looking forward to working with each of you to develop the final budget for 2021, and that it will meet the services needed and expectations of our citizens and our community. With that said, Mr. Chairman, I've also done something this year that's just a little bit different. I have, along with Shannon, we have prepared a presentation that you can view, and we will highlight certain areas of the budget. With that said, the first slide represents those that were working in the budget, that went over and sit down and talked with all the department heads. That was myself, Shannon, Julie Edwards, and Lisa Langford, the assistant director, finance director. Next slide, the budget process was accomplished by the priorities, like you said, by the board that had during the month of March for their budget work session. The guiding principles were at that time, one of the top fives was no property tax increase, the implementation of a salary study, maintain our school safety, economic development, and continuation of projects that's already been approved in the previous budget. After requests were said and submitted, we come to this deficit that I've already done said. Recommended budget overview, no tax rate, tax increase was recommended. Like I said, it's the 10th year. Both tax rates are back to 31 cents apiece for the general county and school. And there is, and that changes from a tax rate being 28.8 cents from the general county and from 33.2 cents from the schools. Our total, the total county and school budget is $53,583,273. Revenues that the county depends on in running the county is currently are the ad valorem taxes. It is based on a 66 tax rate that is your 4 cents and your 62 cents. We are using the recommended by our auditors the 97.4% collection rate. With the real and personal property being at that rate, and all the cars will be at 100% collection rate. $26.5 million or a 64% increase over last year's budget is what this has come to. 1 penny of the tax rate gets you a little over $400,000. And it represents the actual largest source of your discretionary funds of revenue is your ad valorem. It's also comprised in 4 parts: real, personal, public utilities, and motor vehicles, as you can see in here. And the total estimated value of the county right now in real and personal and cars is $4,105,908,978. We also have sales tax, and that is the second revenue source, largest revenue source, with $6,470,000, which is a decrease of $335,000. I would have to get Julia to explain that amount, but it is due to the League of Municipalities saying we need to do a reduction in our sales tax. They recommended 20%, but how that figure works, you can explain it if you need for her to explain it sometime. But it's due on the last 3 or 4 months in the last year. And it's all due to the expected downturn in our economy. Sales tax is like you see Article 39 and 40 and 42 and Article 40 and the amounts that the sales tax will be paying on each one of those. That is based on the cuts. Total revenues is ad valorem, sales tax restricted intergovernmental, unrestricted intergovernmental, other taxes and license, other county services and fees, and general fund balance come to a total of $40,851,543. You have your expenditures, your local governing body, which amounts to, that you can see here, was 25 other different departments. Then you have, which my recommendation of $10,193,289. You have human resources, and you can see the requested and recommended the amount there. Public services, you'll see the requested and recommended. Debt service is what it is. Other county funding and capital reserve, contingency, dedicated fund, mental health, and for psych-tech, you can see that. And you have the total requested, and then you have the recommended amount, which is a difference of $3,179,373. You also had 21 new positions requested, 24 reclassifications requested, 1 part-time position requested, 1 part-time position hours increased. That one we kept because that is basically due to your veteran service needing more hours to provide the services they need there. The other ones, I am sorry to say that I have cut from the budget, this proposed budget. Expenditures, personal services, you can see that as health insurance. Health insurance went up 11%. Dental decreased. Term life stayed the same. Unemployment increased 1%, and retirement increased 10%. Or you can see the increases from like regular salary 9% to 10, and then your law enforcement went from 9.7 to 10. Your education school current expense, they requested $14,009,173. Recommended current year expense budget for 2021 is $12,631,730. Capital outlay is what the school requested, and that's based on the sales tax, and I'm assuming they cut the sales tax based on what the state has recommended the cut to be. Recommendation for the fiscal 2021 budget, it is mine to recommend that the county commissioners adopt the 53,483,273 for the years of 2021. And you can see the county's budget and the recommended school budget. Here's a slide here that would show you the next step of the budget process, and that's the work sessions that y'all go through. And I am sure that the board will review these budgets and add and cut and change as they see fit that will be best for the county and the citizens here in our county and the taxpayers. But this budget work section is from May the 14th, May the 20th, June the 3rd, 4th, and June the 4th being recessed if it's needed. Public hearing would be May the 21st at 7 o'clock in this location here, so it can be filmed out for the people in Stokes County. And the joint meeting between the commissioners and the Board of Education will be May the 28th at 3 o'clock. That said, Mr. Chairman, I'll give you this and we can start the next process for the next upcoming fiscal budget.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll now move on to our public comments. We would just have one tonight, Miss Tina Hooker. If you would just state your name, address, you got about 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Tina Hooker, and most of you have probably already gotten an email or 3 from me concerning the road that I live on. It's Hoosier Road. It is in Pinnacle. However, there's also a Hoosier Road in Surrey County. So this poses a huge issue, as one could imagine. The biggest and the most detrimental and the most important for me is when you dial 911 and you give them your address, they dispatch EMS and the fire department to Hoosier Road in Surrey County, which is 30 minutes away from our Hoosier Road. And this happened within the last 12 months, and we had a guy that was riding a motorcycle who wrecked on our road, and the ambulance took more than 30 minutes to get there. Half of the volunteer fire department went to the other Hoosier Road, because if you put in our address in GPS, it takes you to Surrey County every time. So, given that I have small children, my brother has small children, my dad lives next door, he's older, not in the best of health, is a huge concern for myself and my family that we're going to be in dire straits. You know, my dad's had a stroke. I'm very concerned that I'm going to really need somebody quick, fast, and in a hurry. And it's going to take 30 or 45 minutes, which could mean a matter of life and death. Not to be dramatic, but just to be real. It's an issue with mail, but again, my biggest concern is the fact that we have had issues where we've called 911, told them we were in Stokes County, Hoosier Road, off of Oscar Fry. They pass it along, but these guys punch in a GPS and they're in the wrong location. So I am before you today asking that you please consider changing the name for the safety of the citizens that live on that road. I know it has been brought forth before. It was tabled in November of 2017, and it has not been brought back up. So then this happened last year. We started again saying, hey, we really need to do something. It was tabled in 2017. We can't seem to get anywhere. I don't know if there's a procedure we need to follow. We were recommended by Greg in tax mapping to get the incident report from Double Creek and the EMS, and to make an appointment with Mr. Oakley and see if we could go that route. Instead, I chose to email my commissioners and Representative Hall first, because it's really hard for us to get away during business hours, and where we live, I can't just come on my lunch hour and meet somebody. Mail goes to the wrong Hoosier Road, which is another concern, because if your bank statement, your credit card statement, anything goes to a dishonest person and they open it, they can steal your identity, which happens more times than we like to admit nowadays. All of our delivery drivers, if I'm having concrete delivered, or I was having some material delivered for some people that are building a house down the road, and it went to the wrong Hoosier Road. Packages. Any packages you order, FedEx, UPS, they go to the wrong Hoosier Road. And then you have to call, we didn't get our packages, and then they're tracking that down. It's a huge inconvenience. The post office actually came to us and said, the postmaster, when Pete was at Pinnacle as the postmaster, he came to us and said, would you mind if I petitioned to have the road name changed? No, we don't mind. We welcome it. Any help we can get getting this name changed. And again, my first concern is the EMS and the fire department. I don't want to be caught in an emergency situation. So thank you for your time.
Real quick, which road do you intersect with?
We intersect with Oscar Fry and Flat Rock. It's a through road, and it's a gravel road currently.
Thank you today.
Thank you very much.
We'll now move on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. There are no items on our information agenda, so we'll move on to discussion agenda. Up first, we have a new commissioner appointment, Ms. Virginia Smith.
Tried to talk to Mike, and I heard my name this way. On the 8th, which was last Friday, the executive board voted to fill the empty seat that y'all have had for quite a while with Ernest Langford. Now, Ernest is here. Do y'all want to vote on him now, or when do you vote on him?
We'll move it to action, right there at the end of the action agenda, be item E.
Okay. And when y'all get this other commissioner, we're gonna put a bucket right here. Told you, Jake. We're gonna put a bucket right here. And the first commissioner that disrespects the other commissioner is gonna have to put $50 in that bucket. That's how we're gonna make up for this coronavirus.
You trying to get that $4 million deficit right there for us?
It probably won't take long to get it. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, everybody good, moving that to action agenda, item E. Thank y'all. Move on to item B, the 2021 health and dental insurance rates. Mr. Doug Dunn.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Doug Dunn with Employee Benefit Advisors. I'm here to talk about the health insurance increase and why, and then our game plan for 2020. So if you have any questions, just jump in as we go. In your packet, you should have what we call as an aggregate report. Kind of shows you by month where our medical costs are going from a medical and prescription standpoint. And it also gives you head counts. So the first one you have is plan year 2017, and our plan year is July 1 to the next July 1. Okay, so when I say 2017, it crosses over into 2018, but that's plan year. So if you'll notice, kind of the number to pay attention to is kind of almost to the far right, where it says aggregate calculation. Down at the bottom for 2017, we spent $1.848 million in medical and prescription costs. That was for plan year 2017. At the same time, we averaged about 309 employees. Okay? For 2018, which is the next slide, the aggregate calculation down at the bottom right, you see our claims jumped up to 2.4 million for medical and prescription. At the same time, we averaged a little more, or right at 316 employees, which is a slight increase. And then if you notice, the last one is this current plan year, July 1, 2019, down at the bottom. Through March, we're about $2.363 million in spending, and that still leaves us with 3 more months to go. So you can see our costs are going up. At the same time, for 2019, we are averaging currently about 337 employees. Okay, so you can see our costs are increasing, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. So for this year, we're tracking to spend right at or a little more than $3 million. And that's, again, medical and prescription costs. Does everybody see that? Okay. So, what's causing this? And as we dug into our claims costs, there's 3 driving factors in that. The first one, for a lesser degree, is we're increasing our head count. So you notice in 2017, we had 309 employees. It's ticked up gradually ever since, and I think for this year's budget, we've got 350 budgeted slots for employees. So obviously, the more bodies we have or the more head count, the cost is going to go up. So that's one factor. The other factor is, and there's 2 more, the other factor is we've had pretty significant large claims. And when I say a large claim, that is anything over $100,000. To date, in this plan year, we've had 4 people spend over $100,000. Yeah. The highest being 285,000. Okay? So that has a big factor, obviously. And unfortunately, through this planned year, we are tracking to have, we've had 4 so far, but we've got probably at least 3 or 4 more that are going to spend over $100,000. Okay? So that's obviously a big factor in this, large claims. What's more alarming to us, though, is the high utilization. So we're heavy utilizers of healthcare services, all right? So our focus for next year is to try to attack the high utilization and try to create a healthier workforce, if you will. So our recommendation for next year is we change our third-party administrator from our current vendor, PHP, to MedCost. And the reason being is we'll get better service for the Human Resources Department, better service for employees. We're going to get better discounts with the providers. So we're going to move to MedCost. And when I say MedCost, it's kind of confusing. MedCost is technically 2 different companies. One is the network of providers, which we currently use, but they're also a third-party administrator. They're housed under the same roof, same parent company, but kind of siloed companies. So we're recommending that we move from PHP to MedCost. And the reason, well, there's a lot of reasons, but better service, better discounts. MedCost is owned by Wake Forest Baptist Hospital and Atrium. Atrium is formerly Caroline's healthcare system. So by using MedCost as the TPA, third-party administrator, any claims that are incurred in Baptist, they give us an extra discount. I had MedCost, the TPA, do a claims analysis. So for we took the last 12 months of claims, and I said, plug them into your discounts versus the discounts we're getting now. If all things being equal, which they won't be next year, but all things being equal, we would have saved about $350,000 in claims costs, and that's primarily due to the extra discount at Baptist. We've had some pretty significant claims at Baptist. So that's a good reason to switch, right? And then my pet peeve with our current vendor is the reporting. The reporting we're getting right now from PHP, it's not usable data. I mean, we can make it usable, but it's archaic. So with MedCost, we've set it up with them that every claim that's adjudicated on our behalf, the county's behalf, goes into what I call a data warehousing system, where we can, in real time, slice and dice the data. So we'll know where our claim dollars are being spent, more importantly, why are they being spent, and what are they being spent on. And so from there, our focus in 2020 is going to uncover where and what our problems are. We primarily a diabetic group. Is nutrition our issues? Probably both. Or, what is our underlying population diseases? And from there, we'll build health and wellness programs, try to build a healthier, more productive workforce. So that's kind of the game plan for 2020. Let me see here. So, and we call that population health management. So what we want to do is uncover what the county's issues are in terms of health, and then again, build these programs that help employees live a better lifestyle. That has multiple benefits. One, we're going to have lower healthcare costs, but 2, we'll have a more productive, healthier workforce, right? Okay. And then lastly, we are recommending, currently of our $5,000 deductible, the employees pay the first $1,500, and then the county, through a health reimbursement account, pays the rest, the balance of that deductible. We are recommending we raise that $1,500 portion of the employees up to $2,500. Okay? And again, using this year's claims data, if we do that, and again, all things being equal, which they won't, we should look to save about another $100,000 just through employees' cost sharing, a little more of that. And I think that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from the board? Commissioner Walker?
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sharing some information with us, and wish we didn't have to battle these increases ongoing,
Well,
year to year. It just seems like a fact of life in these times.
Unfortunately, but, and again, couple points to that. We are self-funded, and in my opinion, that is the purest way to pay for your healthcare costs. These insurance companies, they don't do it for free. particularly in this environment, they're spending a lot of money and they're gonna wanna get it back, and guess who they're gonna try to get it back from?
As usual.
Employers in North Carolina. But two, we'll get better data with med costs. And again, I can't harp on this enough. We need to build a healthier workforce.
I was hoping you'd sort of expand on that, or go into that a little more. How
Okay.
exactly will this create a healthier workforce?
Well, so, and I'll pick on this, and I don't know if it's true or not, but we'll find out. Let's say, 15% of our population is diabetic. What we'll do is, there's a team of nurses at MidCost that I'll be working with hand in hand, gather the data, and then contact these diabetics and make sure they're compliant with their drugs, they're getting their A1Cs checked, they're doing all the right things, and there's no, what I call gaps in care. People aren't skipping their prescriptions, they're taking the right dosage. We're just gonna help them manage their health care. And again, I can't harp on enough, build a healthier workforce.
Are there any downside issues for our employees? Is there anything that they're gonna,
No, in fact, it's,
are there
well, other than the deductible change, I mean, that's obviously,
minuses and pluses? Now, the deductible change, that's the amount that has to be met before the insurance picks up, and you're recommending going from,
$1,500, to $2,500.
okay,
Yeah, which is not, it's not unusual. I mean, that's kind of a typical deductible in these days.
it's actually low compared to
Yeah,
what
well,
some people would
yeah,
pay.
yeah. We've got clients that have $5,000 deductible for an employee, which is a burden to them. There's a tipping point at some point where people will defer care because they can't afford the $5,000 deductible. And you don't want that. But you also don't want the richest plan on the street because people will overutilize their health care.
Network, same as now?
Same as now, but better discounts. If you go to Baptist or Atrium. And we have a lot of people that do go to Baptist.
But our employees can go pretty much where they choose, like they.
It's the same network of providers, it's just we're getting a better discount because of the ownership of Baptist and MedCost. But they can still go to Novant, they can go anywhere they want. It's the same network. This would be as smooth a transition for employees as we can make it.
One more question, please.
Yes, sir.
This plan that you're proposing, how does it compare with other organizations that you're aware of?
Even raising the employees portion from 1,500 to 2,500, this is probably one of the better plans, but middle of the road. There's not much richer plans out there with other, we have a lot of municipality clients. This is right in line, if not maybe a little better. Because again, we've got several clients that are renewing right now that are looking at raising the deductible to $5,000, which I don't necessarily like, but they have budget constraints just like everybody else.
And with all this going on, these are strange times. People trying to fill the
I'm trying to
way
keep
through.
what day it is.
Thank you,
I'm lucky
sir.
right now to know what month it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is that it? All right, thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
We'll need more questions.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Commissioner Morris.
Sorry.
Doug, if we switch over to this group, what's your projection for the next 2 or 3 years, staying with them or going somewhere else?
This is a very long-term decision. I would not imagine leaving them unless, God forbid, something happened and their services just dropped. For me, this is 5-10-year decision.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Well,
again,
that's normally the way you approach this kind of thing.
exactly, yeah, and again, being self-funded,
Keep from
we're in the right funding arena, being self-funded. And MedCost, I've worked with them for decades now, and they've got good ownership, they've got a good management team, and I wouldn't envision us leaving, I don't want to say ever, but for a very long time.
We've had them before, right?
Yeah.
I think that worked out pretty
And
well.
they run the
at
League of
time.
Municipalities, so, and they just do a great job.
And beyond that, it's just really going to be what the experience rate is,
It's
right?
what the experience is, and that's really where we have to take ownership
Yeah.
of our population.
Yeah,
I mean, so we've got to build a healthier workforce, which has long-term, so in the short term, we're gonna save with a better discount, raising the deductible from 15 to 2,500. Those are short-term savings.
Yeah.
Really, the long-term saving is we take ownership of our population health and build a healthier workforce.
Will that be done on a voluntary or mandatory basis, or just incentivized by funds?
So it's, in the beginning, I like to make it voluntary, but then you entice them. And I use the term sticks and carrots. You know, you want to pull them in with carrots, and when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, you bring in the stick. It's called sticks and carrots. But in the beginning, voluntary.
We've done wellness programs here before, and that was really a big deal because it uncovered some things with folks that they didn't know was going on.
Exactly.
Probably saved some lives
Yeah.
with blood pressures and things like
Exactly.
that. So
And,
I'm 100% for
Yep.
going hardcore on wellness program.
And when you talk about, I call it a shock claim. So, if someone got in a car wreck or someone got cancer, there's not much we could do. There's no health and wellness program that would prevent that large claim being over 100,000. It's the ticking time bombs that keep me up at night. So you've got people walking around here that they're overweight, they're smoking, they go home, they smoke cigarettes, they drink a six-pack of beer, and they eat a frozen pizza. Well, that's not a healthy lifestyle. So those are the ticking time bombs because they're spending, a significant amount of money, but it's not that $100,000 claim that gets on everybody's radar.
Yeah.
But if ignored, in 5 years, it's going to be a $100,000 claim. So those are the people we need to get after with health and wellness programs. The car wreck, cancer, they don't keep me up at night because that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's our ticking time bombs are the ones we need to attack.
Okay, good. That's all I had, Mr.
Okay.
Could I,
Mr. Mendenhall, go ahead.
Just one quick question.
Yes, sir.
You gave several the positive or pros for Baptist, but you said Novon also was incorporated into this. Is there any difference financially, Baptist or Novon?
There is a difference in yes. So going forward, we'll get a deeper discount than we're getting now with Baptist because Baptist owns MedCost. We'll have pretty much the same discount that we have now with Novon, or anybody that's not Wake Forest Baptist or Atrium Caroline's healthcare system. But employees can use either one. And then I do envision maybe a few years down the road where we have some kind of plan design steerage where we say, okay, you've got I'm not proposing that now, but you've got a lower deductible if you go to Baptist, and you've got the same deductible if you go to Novon. So we'll try to entice them, employees, if they have a choice, go to Baptist or Atrium, wherever.
just one more question.
Yes, sir.
Doug, at one time, we were in a pool with the Association of County Commissioners, and I think we had the best rates during those years that we could find from any source. Is it possible some way that we could poll with other counties or municipalities within this county and maybe even shave some more off of the premium that we would be paying?
It wouldn't necessarily save us money because our claims are our claims.
Right.
And captives can work if you're in a big enough, captive or pool, we call them captives. If it's a big enough pool, you don't want to be in a small pool.
Right.
Because, in a captive, somebody wins and somebody loses, right? Because if you're pooling your claims together, and if we take ownership and we drive our claims down, well, if we pool with other counties or cities, and their claims are here, well, that raises our pool. So, we end up losing. I'm a proponent of taking control of our own destiny. And let's attack, for lack of a better word, let's attack our claims and get after it and build a healthier workforce for Stokes County, because that's who we are.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, captives sound great and they sound fun, they're great to talk about, but somebody always loses.
But they work if they're large enough, sounds like.
Yeah, and we'll always look at a captive, but again, it's our first goal for 2020 is to build a healthier workforce. Let's take control of our own destiny.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Is that it?
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Y'all have a good evening.
Oh, I'm sorry, we got one more question from Ms. Julie.
I put a spreadsheet in here to show the increased costs, so the board could see that, the cost, and also our dental is going with MetLife.
Yes, ma'am.
That is going
So we're gonna save about 22,000. We've got a 2-year rate guarantee on the dental with MetLife, so we're gonna be moving that from Delta Dental to MetLife. We've got a 2-year rate guarantee at a savings of 22,000 a year. So we'll save about 45,000 over the next 2 years just on dental. And the same plan designed for employees.
I just wanted to let y'all know
Yeah.
that there's a spreadsheet out there to show you what the rates are and the dental also.
Where'd you put the spreadsheet and the budget stuff? Where's it at? Where did you put it?
It's the first spreadsheet for the information he got out there on your agenda packet.
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw that. I thought you were talking about something
All
separate.
the rates are going to $644.85 for individual, $1,418.55 for employee spouse, $927.57 for employee child, employee children, $1,264.97, family, $1,917.87. That's for health insurance. And your dental's going to $28.67. For individual employee spouse, $62.52, employee children, $63.03, and family, $111.59. Now, the county pays the employee portion, but all that's on that spreadsheet I did.
Got it.
I just want to let the board, make the board aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
You're welcome. Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Thank you, Julie. All right, we'll move on to item C now, the tax administrative monthly report. Mr. Brim.
That insurance item, Doug should have mentioned that they were asking for that to be approved. You've done that in years
Okay, yeah.
past, so they can start their open enrollment process. If not, they'll have to wait till the next meeting to try to get the employees.
Okay, is everybody good moving that to action tonight then? All right.
Good evening.
Hey,
As always, I'll start off with the monthly tax collection status report. Happy to report we've exceeded budget by about $56,000 with 2 months remaining, so that's a good sign. Next item I've got is the real and personal releases more than $100. Got one of those. It totals $167.24. Next item is real and personal refunds more than 100. That's 4 accounts for $1,008.42. The next item I have is discount for early payment of annual tax bills. This is just for information. If the board chooses to leave that intact, no action has to be taken. And then the next page just gives you a 6-year history of the 2% discount that's broken down by tax district codes. And then we have one present use value forestry late application that we're requesting to be approved. And then the last item I've got, I mentioned it to you at the Board of R meeting last Monday. It's about changing GIS websites to Highland Mapping from RockTech. RockTech, that contract expires July 1 of this year. Just changing from normal procedure, I'm requesting that this item be moved tonight to the action agenda to help us with our implementation timeline, where we can get this site launched and up and running by July 1. That's all that I have from the tax office, unless you have any questions.
sure, quick, is everybody good with moving to the Rock Tech to action tonight? Any questions or comments from Mr. Brim?
And Richard, just to make sure, you said if we wanted to continue with the 2%, like we have had it in the past, no actions needed on that.
No, sir.
One quick comment. Congratulations on the successful collection year so far.
Yeah,
Be that much ahead of where we might say we usually are, with some time yet to go.
Yeah.
It's got a really good sound to it.
it does. Proud of it.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, up next, item D, the EMS station at Wanaco plans. Ms. Glenda Pruitt, she here? Watch that TV.
I got that.
We
this and then really.
In your agenda packets, you received some plans for the EMS station. They were about 95% complete. Since those went out, Brandon and I met with Perry, went over everything. There was just a few minimal changes. So we're here to ask for approval of these plans, and I would love for you all to move it to action so we could go ahead and get it out for bid. And if you have any questions, Perry is here.
Is there any major changes in it?
No, it was just, we added, basically, just like the EMS station in Pinnacle, or on Chestnut Grove Road, there's like a built-in desk, so we added that. Just some plugs we moved around. Yeah, jump in here, Perry.
It was actually pretty simple. The differences, we did add, each ambulance has a plug-in of 230 amp plug-ins, so we've got that on either side, which was an addition to the Chestnut Grove that came after we had built it. So those things got picked up. The building itself is very similar. We changed some storage areas to make them a little larger to make it work better. That's the beauty of having been in that building for a while. They know exactly what they want. The other thing we did to the building, we changed the roof line where it doesn't kind of go up and down. You'll see one roof line going across. That'll mean it won't leak. And it's also less money to build, so that's a good thing. We're also putting, instead of brick on the bottom of it, we're putting kind of the man-made stone. Again, is something to make it attractive, but again, costs a little less money. So on the money side of things, I want to make sure I get on the hook for y'all of what I think it's going to cost, that then we see after it bids if I'm any good or not. But we're looking at roughly $500,000 is what I'm projecting the building to come in at. And that is a good bit less than had we bid it 2 months ago. That one of the things going on right now in bidding land is folks are actually competing a little stronger than they were. Work back 2 months ago, everybody was so busy, prices were very expensive, and I wouldn't be coming to you with the same price. But we actually bid a project, actually Rick, one of Mr. Petrie's donations to Alamance County, we bid 3 weeks ago. And that was on what was going to be roughly a $3 million building, or a little less than that. It came in at $2.47 million. So it ended up coming in $400,000 under budget, which took us completely by surprise. And that's kind of surprise we don't get very often. So that was a good thing. I also expect on this building is going to have a lot of bidders. So that's always a good thing, kind of in pricing land. So there's a lot of good things going on as far as that goes. We also met with the town of Walnut Cove. They're going to extend the sewer to the property line, so we only have to run our line to there. And then the county reimburses the town for that little piece, but that's the cleanest way to do that. So all those things have kind of been worked out. So we feel like we're in good shape to go out to bid and hopefully get a good number so I can come back with some good news.
Sounds good. Any more questions? Mr. Mendenhall?
I just want to know, what's our time frame on this, Perry, as far as the bidding process, et cetera?
We'll give them, the contractors, 3 weeks to bid the project. And then typically, then we get on the next meeting for the commissioners for them to award the project. After the award, usually the contracts kind of flow around for about a month. So if you took about 2 months, 2.5 months, probably would be when work would start. This should be a 7-month building. I think last one, when we built Chestnut Grove, it was closer to 10 months. And that lingered a little longer than we liked, but that'll give you an idea.
Commissioner Walker?
Thanks, sir. Very
Yes,
good
sir.
news here. We're getting some good news this evening. Some mixed, but some good also. I think you're saying that it would be comparable to the building on Chestnut Grove?
It is.
And from all that I'm aware of, that building has functioned very well.
We visited it last week, part of the facility study, and it looks good. It's in good shape. It's performing well. So.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Morris?
Yeah, just one thing, Glenn, to be sure and put in the RFP that we don't have to accept any of the bids.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Standard
always
thing.
a right to reject all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
We will be going to we will have to get on the LBC agenda to finance this money.
Any more questions, comments?
None for me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Perry.
Moving on to item E, the transportation. Oh, you're okay moving that to action agenda tonight?
I am.
What?
Moving this to action agenda, okay.
Normally I fuss about so much being moved to the action agenda, but good, at least a
Getting all this good news tonight, so you're feeling
substantial
frisky,
portion of
yeah.
what we're moving this evening sounds justified, so
All right.
I'll refrain from fussing.
We're on to transportation contracts for DSS and senior services, Ms. Pruitt.
I don't have any backup for this one, so it's just me. I sent out a proposal like we do pretty much every year for transportation to add with our Y-80 program. Y-80 has asked to renew their contract, which I would like to request for that. But we would also like to have some options in case Y-80 is not available. We always like to have a little backup plan for DSS and our senior services. So with that being said, we received 3, Gentle Care, Providence, and Archangels. These are some companies that we have dealt with in the past, especially this past time with JD Cruz going out. These are some of the vendors that Stacy and Vicky had used along the way with their leaving. So we would like to request for the approval for us to contract with all the vendors that we received. Y-80 being our primary, and then the other 3 just being backup as necessary and needed. And I spoke with Stacy and Vicky, and they're both on board with them. They've had dealings with these and are pleased with their services.
Any questions, comments? Commissioner Walker?
And, logistically, how would that work with the 3 providers? Who would decide which provider actually gets to carry it at a particular time?
My understanding from speaking with Stacy and Vicky, they normally always try to go with Y-80, and then if that is not available, because a lot of times they run into they're already booked, this person has a doctor's appointment at 10 o'clock, and so, and then I think they pretty much go down, I don't know if they have a list of, my recommendation would be whichever one's the cheapest to go to the next one and go down the line. And that's kind of my understanding from them. They kind of go down and just contact the ones that, whoever's available at that time. But my understanding, they always go with Y-80 first, and then if not, then we go down. We do not guarantee mileage for any of them, so it's not something that we have to use directly.
I think we had a less than ideal experience with one provider, one transportation provider. Is there any chance that we would have a similar situation with any of these, or has it been thoroughly researched and we're comfortable that they're on their game?
Yes, they're, as far as to my knowledge, but speaking with them, they are. Gentle Care is one that we use. He's been great, especially with our senior services department. And from my understanding from Becky and Stacy, the Providence and the Archangels are the 2 that they would highly recommend. They've used them both.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Any more questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Ms. Pruitt.
Thank you.
I'm going to put this on the action agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Item F, the coronavirus relief fund information, Mr. Oakley.
Chairman, board members, this right here is something that we've been participating and looking into and wondering if what, through the CARES Act from the federal government, what Stokes County what kind of help they may get out of this due to the corona relief. On May the 6th, we were notified or part of a conference call related to the coronavirus relief fund distribution to counties as allocated in the House Bill 1043. We discussed the funding's methodology, allowable expenses, and the reporting requirements. The information is included in the below attachments. During this meeting, we had a application that needed to be applied for by June the 1st. Shannon and myself have already went on and applied for this funding. This has been done, and into the next phase of moving forward with how the funding will be distributed and how we're going to come together as a county and everyone that's involved in this to make sure that we get the biggest bang for the buck from this grant opportunity. With this right here said, I am recommending to the board that we set up meetings between the governing bodies, our municipalities, and ourselves, and we discuss the information so we're all on the same page and everybody's involved in it. In this, you'll see attachments of the actual House bill. You will see the relief fund guidance. You will see the frequently asked questions. And then you will see the letter from the state. You will see guide to federal COVID-19 funds for local government. And then the very last one, if you clicked on it, you would see the amount of funding that Stokes County has been awarded. When the money comes, I don't know, but what we've done filled out the application, I'm fully expecting to funding to come soon, because June the 1st is the deadline that we are planning on having things submitted. With this right here, with the Recovery Act of Corona Relief Fund, we've also got instructions here that Shannon and I went on today. And I do want to say that Ms. Shaver is a big help to me. She does a lot of stuff in helping me follow up on a lot of this technology work. But anyway, we are in a process of developing a plan to where we utilize these funds for different items. Corona expense, Corona that's been caused by the closure of things. So we're in a process of gathering information now and making sure we know every possible business that's in this county, got their names and addresses, that we can start notifying, let them know that we do have these funds when they get here, and that there are grant applications possibilities for these businesses to apply for to help them in paying costs that they have no longer have funding for due to the closure of things. And it also has public health expense, and then it'll have the health and measure of the actual COVID related to the public, medical expenses that we may occur, and associated position due to economic support in connection with the COVID epidemic. With this said, Mr. Chairman, I am requesting that if we could set some dates, we'll kind of come up with what, Shannon, on those 2 dates? Got 2 dates?
May the 18th or 19th are two possibilities.
Or 2 possibilities that maybe we can have a special called meeting and we can get our municipalities to show up. We'll all sit down and go over exactly every detail of what this is called for and how we need to go about doing it. And because they will share in part of this. And we just want to make sure that everybody is together with this and we come up with the best possible plan that Shannon and I will go ahead and get started. I know it will be revised once the board, each board of each governing body will come up with their ideas and the best known solution. It will be revised as the year goes on. This money will come in as soon. I'm expecting it at any time. It's $991,000. It is to be used for effect from this virus and the economy because of what it done to our economy and the folks. And it must be spent by December 3rd or 30th?
30th. We have to return anything not spent by December 30th.
December the 30th. Money will be sent back. So I'm sure that we can come up with ways that we can utilize and spend every bit of this money even if it's through a lot of grants to our businesses that are suffering during this time of closure. Okay, so with that said, if you'd like for Shannon and myself to start seeing with this 18th and 19th date for a special call meeting, we would head this up for you, but we'd love to see if that within 2 dates is okay with you, and we kind of move forward with making sure Stokes County is well taken care of in this grant. State funding.
I'm good with your date, if y'all are.
I got a question about the meeting.
Yeah.
I'm really not interested in having a meeting with the governing bodies unless all the groundwork has already been completed. By you guys, you managers, so that we know what we're doing and everybody has read-aheads and we know what we're doing, that we just don't have a gaggle to talk about the money. So if you can do all that by the 18th or 19th, that's fine with me, but it needs to be a very structured meeting. This is a dicey subject because this money can go to anybody just about, as long as you don't supplant your budget, if you read this information you guys put out. So everybody's going to be wanting some of it. It can go to healthcare facilities, it can go to municipalities, and go to schools. What about the elected officials with the schools?
Yeah, the schools, I think, have their own piece of the pie that the federal government sent out. So I don't think that the schools is part of this 91.
It says in this information it is, I think. I'll go back and look, but I'm pretty sure I read that it could go to the schools. I thought it did. Did y'all see it one way or the other? I didn't see it one way or the other. But if it can go to the schools, then that'll be another elected board that needs to be participating in the process too.
Absolutely.
I think I saw that in the frequently asked questions part, but I may have misinterpreted it. But then, but it can go to businesses, it can go to anybody just about that makes a case for it. So it seems to me to be a pretty tricky little business here, splitting this up.
Oh, yeah. And I sent out all the information to our town managers that we received from that call the other day. And this piece of it, what I handed out today with the CRF, the county plan, just came yesterday. That you have to get this submitted by June 1st with estimates of how you think you would spend the funding. Which is why we wanted to include the municipalities, because we don't really know what they've incurred as far as throughout the city
Exactly,
of King,
yeah.
Tonawanda Cove. They may have incurred other expenses that we're not aware of. We want to make sure they're included and informed that that's going on. So I've sent that out to them. So as
We
far
have
as
to
get
split this
back-
money with them. It's,
Well, it's ultimately the county's receiving the funding, and then you decide how it's distributed out. It has to go within those guidelines. So it can be, you could take, applications for grants from small businesses and decide an amount up to a certain amount. You could help if they provided documentation their business had been cut by that. City of King or Tonawanda Cove may submit information that they've spent this much on measures to prevent coronavirus in areas, and, to refund that. So we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and is aware it's out there.
But you are correct. We just want to make sure that as much groundwork is taken care of and the proper paperwork filed and entered in as much as we possibly can. But where this is a June 1st deadline that the state is requiring on us, we don't have a whole lot of time to fool around with. It's a couple of weeks here. So I was just wondering if
Yeah, there's some more in there.
we get together, and the last thing I want to do, and which Commissioner Morris is correct, is to come together to have a chat session. And it would be a session that it would be very productive in making sure that Stokes County is dotted their I's and crossed their T's on this.
As I understood the guidance, we have sole say-so in who gets it. This board does.
And if the schools are included,
Yeah.
you have no problem in utilizing all of the funding.
Well, we met with emergency management today because we don't want to cross over into anything that they're already applying for, because there's certain things they can receive that might cross into here, but we wouldn't want to utilize that money towards that if it goes somewhere else more needed that's not being covered in the emergency management grants that they're applying for.
Yeah, before we give out any money, we better make sure they can spend it or obligate it by December 30th. That needs to be one of the questions that you have to have a yes answer on.
So, and that's the reason why I think all of us need to come together and really come up with the best solution because of the short time frame that the state is giving us to submit these applications.
You already sent an application that gets us the money?
Yes.
Or is that what this is?
No, the application to receive the funds has been sent in. and that's-
Been sent.
yes.
So
This
that's-
came as an extra piece yesterday afternoon to get this in by June 1st too. But I emailed them back to check and see, they want estimates of what you think you'll spend in all the different areas, on how strict they are on those and how much we'll be updating those. If they just want some general estimates, we can provide that. And then as we go throughout time, I'm sure they'll have monthly reporting requirements to where you'll have to say how this is being spent with the right documentation and all that.
Yeah, they will.
So if we could just make some estimates, we could do that probably just by emailing with the different, with towns, with King, with Walnut Cove, with Danbury, kind of making some guesstimates on what everybody's kind of incurred as far as their expenses.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Jake, what I look for in a situation like this is a plan that, to whatever extent possible, ensures fairness and consistency and is equitable. When people look at it, take the names off of it and it still makes sense. So how will we approach that aspect of dealing with how we distribute these funds? How can we ensure that it's fairly and consistency and equitably as possible?
The only way that I know that I would attack that portion of it is to have a committee established once we get done with our meetings of how we want this to take place. And the committee to establish to where they're overseeing these, whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 members along with Shannon and myself, or maybe a board member that we are always constantly viewing and making sure that what is requested is a request that is worth our consideration, worth the county's consideration of viewing, and allowing a grant or something to be set up for funding, and then making sure that, like you said, we didn't overlap into any other funding that the emergency medical director would use. But we just have to look at each individual area of where this has caused problems, and making sure that the funding is used in a manner that it best benefits the county and best benefits the businesses and the citizens of that's in our county. So I think it's an overall togetherness of how you want things done, instead of the county manager sitting here wondering who says who's going to get what, because it's such a short time frame that we have been able to establish what we want to do, who is to be served from it, and how it's going to be served, and before they're ready to say, hey, well, okay, you got to return the money back because you didn't spend it. But I think more than one is, in this case, would be the better deal, and to determine the procedures of how we go about distributing.
Some guidelines, so to speak, that can be applied to evaluate each request. One thing we don't want to have happen is end up on December 30th with funds that have to go back. But in the meantime, we want to see they're distributed as fairly and equitably as possible. And if we had some guidelines, people could see what we use to determine the value of each request. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Mendenhall?
Just a quick question, and I know I missed this somewhere, but what was the determination on the amount of money that the counties received? Like, we got $991,000. Was it the number of people that lives in your county?
Based off population.
Population, that was it?
And there were 3 counties excluded from that chart in there that received a different allotment because they had an extreme number of cases, like Mecklenburg, Guilford, they got a different allotment of money besides this.
But everyone, all the other counties other than those 3, it was based on population. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Morris?
One last comment. I think I saw in there we could grant this money or loan it as well. So I guess we need to look at possibility of loans if that fits the scenario that gets proposed or requested.
Good point.
Would y'all rather go with May 19th, give him an extra day to see if I can get all this stuff together before we have that meeting?
We'll do the best we can.
Right.
And it may be
Get
that those
prepared.
individuals can't do it. You have to put that date out there. And if they can't, we'll do our best to communicate with them and try to come up with the best possible scenario as far as putting in the request for the amounts and doing it and being able to update it at a later date, but try to get that June 1st deadline in for this piece too, to get it in there, so.
Pretty much everybody's already booking up their schedule
For
pretty
May.
heavily
Yeah.
due to budget sessions and goal sessions and trying to get the new fiscal year started. And here's a sizable sum of funds that is available to Stokes County, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of this the best possible way we can. And that is working together and making sure everybody's on the same page.
We all good? All right. Move on to our action
We need to-
agenda.
hold on. We need to ask about extending the tax, waiving the fees, and also the utilities fees and the cutoffs until the end of the month.
Okay.
It-
Well, you know, we are currently, back in April, March 17th, we got the board approved for us to not charge any fees for online payments. It's been doing great. People have really stepped up and paying their taxes and taking advantage of it. Due to that governor still got us locked down, I'm requesting the board let us extend this on through the month of March. May, I'm sorry. And at the end, on May the 30th, then we will call it quits. Hopefully, phase 2 is done back in place, and we're starting to open up and do a little better. But I think by the time that if we extend this to May the 30th, it would allow folks to take advantage of it.
We need to add
It also
this,
takes care to make sure that their water and sewer is not cut either.
we need to add this to the action agenda.
Just give consensus
You
right
can
here.
just give concurrence. We were already doing it. If it's okay till the end of May, we'll just continue.
Did we set a time, expiration time when we put that in
At the
place?
meeting on May 17th, we said through the end of April, but since he's extended things out a little further, we're not sure when exactly phase 2 may start May 22nd. So just give till the end of May and then reevaluate it.
I'm good with it. Let's do it. All right, move on to the action agenda. Item A, the EMS week proclamation. The motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item B, the NCACC insurance renewal.
Necessary thing, I move that we approve it.
All right,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item C, Meals on Wheels contract renewal.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is with Golden Corral, I believe.
Yes.
It is, yeah. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item D, the resolution approving the sale of service sidearm.
Move that we approve.
Second.
Who's taking that?
We'll do a motion, second. Any discussion?
You were right on me on that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item E, the new commissioner appointment. Motion,
Motion to approve.
Second.
any discussion?
Now, Virginia said we're all gonna have to behave. She seemed pretty serious when she said that.
You make the motion to approve without the jar involved.
Motion to approve without the jar.
The $50 jar.
I didn't say nothing about the jar, I said the bucket.
Bucket, yeah, she's taking big.
Motion to approve without the bucket.
All right,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
We ain't gonna bring no bucket.
Item F, the health and dental insurance. Motion,
Health
health and dental insurance.
I'll make it. I mean, it's gotta be there. Motion to approve.
Second, because it does seem to be, in spite of the increases we get all along, it does seem to be saving us some money to kind of change directions a little bit. So I'm second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item G, the Rock Tech.
It's the Highland mapping agreement. We're switching from Rock Tech.
Okay.
The Highland mapping agreement.
I'm a mapping agreement.
We approve the request. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item H, EMS Station Walnut Cove plans.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I do have one comment. I like the approach our architect takes. He's looking for quality, functionality, and to save us money along with it. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Any more comments? I have a motion for adjournment.
We got one more thing to do.
We're gonna, I've got the oath and we don't have to. do
Yeah,
it.
that's
We
after the
do it
meeting.
After we adjourn.
Yeah.
Okay. So we need a
Motion to adjourn. You got a motion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Get your paper. Oh, y'all got y'all's papers for the favors, don't you?
And that's like if you want to do it in honor of somebody.
Or you can do your own.
What we didn't do,